see. I just got tacos and hot sauce with hearts. That's one of their fun Valentine's prints. You should go check it out. And now, let's get into this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
So we've got more cards, Jocelyn, not quite as many as last week, but I'm personally, as the host of a weekly Hearthstone podcast, I'm happy about that because it's easier to fit them all into an overlay and also makes for a slightly more sane runtime. So let's do it in the order we've been doing it, which is class order, starting with Druid and Rising Winds, a 2-mana common Druid spell. It's a twin spell that reads choose one, draw a card, or summon a 3/2 eagle. So, like, gut reaction to the card at face value is, well, I guess Twin Spell is worth something because 2 mana draw 1 card and 2 mana for a 3/2 beast. It does have a beast tag, so there's a little bit of tribal there if you're interested. That's not that great. It's not the most powerful use of your 2 mana.
But it is a choose one and also a twin spell, which I think both of those are definitely worth something in Druid. I mean, twin spell, when we first started seeing these cards, we were kind of like, but they've proven to be much, much more powerful than we realized because you get that second copy in your hand, right? So
yes, yeah, the flex is totally worth something.
Yeah.
And you do, as you say, you get multiple copies, so that is all worth something. And it's Druid. There are choose one synergies, and Quest Druid isn't going away. And as a matter of fact, last week you and I both went hunting. We went hunting. We're like, who's using any of these new cards? And it was really hard to find decks like 24 hours into it coming out on a website like HS Replay. You know, they have minimum game requirements for a deck to even like show up on their website.
I think it's like 10 different pilots and 400 games played. So
yes, something along those. I believe that's exactly it, as a matter of fact, because we were talking to HS Replay today about some of this stuff. But Equestru did pop up when I was looking around for this. Not a ton of games played, very low as a matter of fact. But this is finding its way into a Quest Druid, which makes total sense to me. Because if you're getting both of these effects, it's pretty solid. I mean, yeah, granted a 3/2 a little bit later in the game when you've actually completed your quest. Not the best thing in the world, but a 3/2 that draws you a card, I would play that for 2 mana at most stages of the game. And
yeah, and a 3/2 isn't terrible, right? I mean, there's a few decks that are, Embiggen, of course, playing like fairy dragons and stuff, and those are 3/2s, and obviously this doesn't have the untargetable effect to it, but I think just having the 3 attack, like, I don't know about you guys, but I have seen a lot of Galakrond zoo type decks if I'm not being beaten in my face by a super aggressive hunter. So I think that, having that 3 attack with the 2 health, it's not terrible in a 2-drop. I mean, you can take out some of those Voidwalkers and stuff and still have your 3/1 surviving, and there's dead, and you want to clear off as much as you can. So I think it kind of depends on what exactly you're doing and what you're facing, but I don't think this is bad. I think this is pretty good. The guaranteeing yourself some 3/2s if you have an aggressive kind of matchup, it's not bad. And I like Quest Druid, man. I really like that deck.
I do too. I'm a big fan. I completely agree. 3/2/1/2, maybe not the most exciting thing in the world, but some games it's good enough. It can get you there, and sometimes you just really need to draw a card.
Yeah,
because things are getting out of hand. But yeah, I don't absolutely hate this card, but it's also not one that I just lose my mind over. I think it's like it's like the poster child for fine.
It's fair.
Fine.
We chose different F words. I'm sorry, Garrett.
We chose different F words.
Yeah.
Nice. I was on my bad camera for the video audience. I'm switching. Mage is up next with Arcane Amplifier. It's a 3-mana 2/5 common mage elemental that reads your hero power deals 2 extra damage. So you're basically getting a 3-mana ping or a 3 damage ping every time if this is alive and on board. I want to get so excited about this card. I love adding I love adding damage to the mage ping. I love it so freaking much, Jocelyn. Even though mage is like one of my least played classes, I get weirdly excited about adding damage to the mage ping because I still remember the first time I ever logged into Hearthstone using that damn hero power and going, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that this is a card game? And if I play mage every turn of every game I ever play of Hearthstone, I am guaranteed to put 1 damage wherever I want it. That's insane because I was, playing Magic at the time, and I'm like, what, this isn't a card that I have to draw, and then it's just there. Like Hero Power was blowing my mind, and specifically the Mage Hero Power was blowing my mind. And you remember, like in the early days last year of Rasticon's Rumble, I was all about the Jan'alai deck. I love the Jan'alai deck. However, I don't think this is enough to bring it back. I don't. I mean, it's cool that it's a 2/5 for 3. Like those are good stats for what you're paying for. But you don't really want to drop this on 3. You want to drop this on 5 or later. You want to have mana to also hero power alongside this. So I don't know. This isn't getting me that stoked as much as I would like to. Like, this is the kind of card where I go, like, my gut says I like this. I like this card a lot. I love this design. I love these types of effects in Mage, but I don't think this card works in practice.
Man, that bums me out so much because, I mean, yeah, Jan'alai decks, so fun. I like hero power centric decks. I just think they're really fun to play. And, summoning Rag when that was a thing that well, I guess it technically is still a thing, but nobody's doing it. But yeah, I want to do this. I want to make this work. I want to find hero power mage and make this a thing. And I think if you can make it work, then this fits in, but I don't know if it does. But yeah, Jan'alai decks are fun.
I'd really like it to be an elemental like Jan'alai deck because Rag is an elemental, and it's just like, let's keep it going. Let's really run home with the theme.
Has a lot of elemental type synergies, even with some of the newer cards that they've gotten in the last couple sets. So it's probably doable. And Zobot in the chat room is talking about maybe an odd Jan'alai elemental mage. So maybe there's something in the Highlander realm. Maybe there's something over in Wild with the even and odd decks, specifically the odd decks. I mean, there could be something there, maybe.
Yeah.
I want to see it work.
I hope so. I do too, because this is one of those cards that I really like. I just don't believe in it.
Oh, you don't believe in the heart of the cards, Garrett.
Listen, I really like Santa, Jocelyn. Fill in the blank. In case kids are listening. Cleric of the Scales, as we move in the Priest, is a 1-mana, 1/1 rare priest minion with a battle cry that reads, if you're holding a dragon, discover a spell from your deck. This is not a copy. This is the actual spell from your deck, and it takes it from your deck. So the kind of a downside upside thing, like the downside is you're not getting a 3rd or a 4th copy of spells, potentially, if you actually play a game where you draw all of those. Upside, though, thins your deck, and it's freaking targeted draw, which I like.
It's super targeted draw, too, because you get to discover the spell from your deck. So it doesn't just say if you're holding a dragon, draw a spell from your deck. You get to choose what works best in that particular situation. So, I mean, there's a really good chance you're going to get exactly what you need because you have that built-in discover too. And I really want to see this work because I really liked Dragon Priest. I think it's a fun deck to play, except it really is just not the way Priest is playing right now at all. And I want to see a Dragon Priest work because I want them to be doing like super cool dragon things because it's the year of the freaking dragon. Like, rezzing stuff is cool, but that's like so 2018. Like, come on, move on, priests.
Could you have Valley Girled that up a little bit more? I feel like you weren't quite on brand.
I'm sorry. That is so like 2018. Like, come on, priest, just get with it. And like, come on, stop resin, just do dragons. And like, let's be like fiery and hot. Okay.
So hot.
Wonderful. Exactly what I was hoping for. Thank you, Jocelyn.
You're welcome. You're so welcome.
So much. Yeah, I think this is a great card. I haven't seen it just running away. I went up against a Highlander priest that had this in the deck, seemed to totally work. Even though, yeah,
Highlanders are doing some dragony things, but it's not like the lots and lots of dragons, like super dragon priest. Like, oh man, what was it? That was like, I feel like Dragon Priest was even like pre-Spiteful Priest, like. When was that? It would have been like, what, 2016, 2017-ish?
It was whenever
I feel like it's been a long time.
Whenever they first put out the Heroic Tavern Brawl, because I did my best run with the very first time they had a Heroic Tavern Brawl with a Dragon Priest.
So yeah, whenever that was.
Yeah.
Totally can't remember.
Yeah. No, I think it's good, even though I can't find much in the way of actual statistics. It's 24 hours into this, I think some folks are messing around with this in their Dragon Priest decks. So let's move on to Skyvatir in Rogue, because Team 5 can just not stop making up names. And I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that one out loud, because I don't know, I couldn't, reading it in the notes, I could not wrap my brain around the name of this card.
I mean, if you want to call it Skivatir, go for it, but that sounds like something you would catch. I
was thinking like skiv, like skivvies, like back to the underwear conversation.
What are skivvies?
What? Okay, chat room, back me up here. Please tell me that I'm not the only one who's ever heard the term skivvies for like your underwear.
Is that a Canadian thing?
I don't. Maybe it's a British thing. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyway, Skyvatir is a 2-mana 1/3 common rogue pirate with stealth and death rattle. Draw a card. I have seen this popping up in Galakrond Rogue, and in fact, you don't even have to dig that hard. This one actually does pop up on HS Replay. You can find a Galakrond Rogue with not that many games played, but still games played nonetheless.
I don't think there's going to be any games played really high with these new cards. Right, they've only been out literally 24 hours.
Yeah, absolutely. So this version drops SI7 and Life Drinker and puts in Skyvatir and Faceless Corruptors. So giving up a little bit of board control on the SI7, but you're picking up with the Faceless Corruptor, although it's happening later in the game, but potentially significantly more board control because it's a Faceless Corruptor. And then it's not really gaining any type of like damage heal through like what Life Drinker was done. And then it's just a Skyvatir in there, or two of them. So what I think it's in here because Galakrond Rogues are running Praise Galakrond and they're running Lackey Generation. This is my best estimation at this point as to why we're seeing Skyvatir in this deck, because this is a fantastic target for +1 attack. Because when I first saw this card, I'm like, why do I care about this having stealth? It has 1 attack. What the hell is it going to do? But Praise Galakrond, yeah, it's only +1 attack, but you're also invoking when you do it. And here you go. Here's a 1/3 body to actually put some attack onto. And then obviously you've also got your freaking +1 attack rusher. The Goblin Lackey.
Yeah.
So if you're running lackeys, if you're looking for a plus attack targets, you could definitely do worse, I think, than Skyvatir. So
yeah, I mean the 3 health means it's probably going to survive against stuff. Which I mean, I feel like. In this case, the death rattle of drawing a card is just kind of like a bonus. I feel like if you're going to be playing it in this Galakrond Rogue deck, what you're probably trying to do is, like you say, control the board. I think you can kind of see that from adding in the Faceless Corruptors. Like the thing that you want to do is to be controlling the board and then kind of swinging for face when you've held on to that advantage. So I can see how they would kind of throw those two in a deck together. And I think in that deck, you're not necessarily trying to draw your whole deck all the time. You're more so just like, oh, death rattle, it finally drew a card, cool. But what you wanted to do is, stick around to be able to get those attacks in, and the more you can get out of those buffs, the better. So I think the drawing a card is like a bonus, but probably the stealth and the 3 health is like more important for what you want to do with all of the Lackey Generation.
Yeah. Let's move right along to Shaman, who got 2 cards added this week. First being a new legendary weapon, the Fist of Rodden. It's a 4-mana, 1 attack, 4 durability legendary Shaman weapon that reads, after you cast a spell, summon a legendary minion of that cost. Lose 1 durability.
Yeah, so this is one I think we actually talked about before the adventure launched, because I remember this. I think this is one of the ones that was kind of teased ahead of time, and I feel like it was a few weeks ago now that we talked about it, but I feel like it's one of those things where
it was 348. No, we didn't. Okay, I'm not crazy.
Oh, okay.
That was Amazing Reno, Chaos Gazer, Shotbot, and Dark Prophecy.
I was like, I definitely remember it because I remember having I found this super awesome on HearthstoneDecks.net. They have an article that shows you literally every single card that shows up in each mana slot and what spell you have to cast to get what legendary minions. And I mean, it's the kind of thing where it has a pool, and it's targeted. So the pools are relatively small because they're split up by mana cost. It's not just
it's
a random legendary minion. So this article is, and I'll put a link in the show notes. It's awesome. It's again at hearthstonedex.net. And they even broke down like average stats of like at 1 mana, what are you going to get? And so 1 mana, you get on average a 1/1. 2 mana, you get 1.8 attack, 2.6 health. Like, so it kind of breaks down what the best like pairings might be. It's a great article. And I still don't necessarily think this is good.
I think it could. I don't see a universe where you use this outside of a Highlander deck.
Yeah.
I think this, I
feel like that's like the caveat. We always have these caveats when we talk about cards in these big groups. And I feel like Highlander just is the thing for this set of cards. Cause it's like, they're pretty good. Like they're kind of okay. They're fair. And those kind of cards are usually the ones that fill out some of those last few spots in a Highlander deck.
Right. Well,
because Highlander decks have room.
Yeah. I don't like, again, this is, so if Arcane sorry, not Arcane. If Rising Winds is like a card that I think is fine and just leans over into being useful for one archetype, I think Fists of Rodden might be the same. I think it's fine, and I think it just ever so slightly leans over into actually finding a home in Highlander lists. Because I mean, it's definitely not an aggressive card. Like, you don't want to pay 4 mana and just like, this is what happens for your 4 mana. But I don't know. I think this is interesting. Elvix in the chat room. I mean, it's a Spiteful-esque for sure.
It's definitely giving me Spiteful feels for sure.
Yeah, I need what I need is actually, this is one of the ones I need time to play with and like see it in action, see what the roles actually are. But I think in a deck that has the ability to go long and go for a value over turns game plan, which is kind of, basically what happens in Highlander lists, I think this could totally work for Shaman.
Yeah, and I think, particularly in the 4 mana slot, which, the 4 mana Shaman spell, you've got Hex, right? And Hex, especially if you're looking at this from maybe even like a control perspective, I don't even know if there's a control Shaman out there, but I feel like this would probably fit well, is a place where you can put a couple of hexes in. The 4 mana legendary minions are actually pretty good. They have a lot of effects that aren't necessarily like battle cries. They're, pretty beefy in terms of stats. So I think that this would actually, casting a hex and running a control type variant with this card might actually be really good. The 5 mana slot isn't too terrible either. And you've got, Haggith the Scheme is another kind of control-y kind of a card. So yeah, I think there's definitely something here. Even 6 manas with like Reign of Toads, again, a very like defensive type of a card, gives you some really, really good, well-statted, good effect options. It's not really till you start getting into the super high like mana costs where things start to get a little bit wonky. And there are no 9 mana spells, which I think is why this is the sort of thing that didn't end up being a neutral, ended up in Shaman. There's no 9 mana spells in Shaman, so you can't consistently get like dragons and King Crush and, all these other kind of unfair swingy turns. So
yeah. I'm surprised I'm going to bat for this card as much as I am, but I don't even
there's
think
something potentially there.
Yeah, I
need to wait till rotation.
I wasn't really thinking about Spiteful ahead of time, but I wonder if that was subliminally why I was feeling a little positive towards this card. Because typically, you know me, I don't love random effects, but this one, if nothing else, is really interesting because it's randomness within a range, and you have control over what that range is by the mana cost of what you are casting to a certain degree. Obviously, in a perfect world. Most of the time, that's how much mana you have. That's a spell in your hand. You need to make something happen. Who gives a crap? Let's go. But yeah, it's still a fascinating card. So, but let's talk about the second Shaman card that was added this week, which is Explosive Evolution. It's a 2 mana common Shaman spell. Saying common Shaman, it's a wonderful little rhyme, makes me want to rap. But it reads, transform a minion into a random one that costs 3 more. I could move through this one pretty quickly if you have nothing else to add, Jocelyn. My thought is this is potentially powerful, but Mutate really gets its strength from the fact that it's 0 freaking mana. You can fit it in anywhere.
Yeah, you can basically like play a powerful card and then, you know, with a high mana cost or with, you know, like the oh shoot, I'm totally blanking on it now, but the Mogu dude, Mogu Flesh Shaper, that had the reduced mana cost that you could, you know, play for really cheap and then also, you know, evolve it into something huge. Like the reason you could do that was because Mutate was free. So I think that it's good because it has a mana cost, so you can't kind of make really broken combo type things like that, or at least if there are really broken combo things, then you know you're waiting till a little bit later. Like you're still paying for the random, but I feel like 2 mana for a 3 mana jump, and that 3 mana jump being totally within that random pool of minions, like, yeah, I think this is, again, fair versus Mutate that has the potential at 0 mana to just get stupid broken.
Right. Yeah. That, again, Rising Winds and Fist of Radin are like fair and like lean over into finding the way into homes, which I'm fairly certain they will. Explosive Evolution, I think, is the opposite. I think it's fair and it just leans away from finding its way. It always has a chance. Who knows? Like if Shaman gets some really weird discount cards or like higher cost than they should be, I don't know. There's something. There's always a chance.
There's maybe something here,
abused, but right now I just don't see it.
Yeah,
and I could be wrong. I don't know. Fiendish Servant is next. This is the last class card we're going to talk about today because it's the last class card that was added this week for Warlock. It's not just for Battlegrounds. Constructor gets to play with it too. It's 1 mana, 2/1 common Warlock Demon with a death rattle that we should all be very familiar with by now. Give this minion's attack to a random friendly minion. Hello, Zoo. Are you there? Yes. You should hear this.
Yeah, I've already seen this being played. It got like insta slotted into Zoo.
Makes so much sense, right? I mean, it's like we love it in Battlegrounds, right? And this is definitely a hell of a lot easier to play around when you can choose where you attack and what you kill and what order you kill it in.
Yes.
But that's also against Zoo, and you tend to be down an attack or 3 sometimes against their board, and you may not have the perfect choices. So, yeah, makes sense for Zoo. It seems to be making sense for Zoo in the short amount of time I've had to play with this card
already.
And constructed. So, yeah, makes a lot of sense. I like you, Fiendish Servant. I like you quite a bit. And then we have one neutral to talk about today, and it's Hailbringer. It's a 5 mana, 3/4 common neutral elemental with a battle cry that reads, summon 2 1/1 ice shards that freeze. Those shards do not have rush. This is a pretty neutral card.
Yeah, it definitely is. I feel like if they were rushing, they would be amazing and probably way too strong. So yeah, but if you could basically like play a 3/4 onto the board and freeze 2 characters, like whether that was minions or face or whatever, I guess they'd have to have charge to hit face, but you could just freeze 2 other minions and put a 3/4 on board. That seems really good and probably way too good. So
yeah, I need something else to go along with this. It's the kind of thing where I'm like, this is cool. Like anytime where I get one card that goes wide, like by itself, I get interested, but this card by itself doesn't do enough. And there's not really a lot of support in Elemental right now to really piggyback off of this and do something cool with the fact that you're adding 2 1/1s onto the board, because by itself, with 5 mana, like most classes have a way to deal with that. Like those 1/1s aren't going to do jack. Yeah, you need some way to either empower those 1/1s. You need some way to like buff your elementals in a meaningful fashion.
Which Shaman does have with elemental evocation, maybe the thing that gives it 2/2 and draw and thing if you give it to an elemental or elemental
now as well
might. Oh, and chat room is going to know.
Chat room will save us at some point.
The 2 mana spell, the 2/2 with the extra effect with the elemental. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah, but,
that one.
Yeah, but that's again not enough. It's just buffing them in one turn. You need extra mana to do
and
that
then
on top of this.
You're getting into a space where you've got to play a 5 mana minion on top of a 2 mana spell and on and on and on. So
that card exists. That is not the support I'm saying it needs because I don't think it's good enough. But interesting card. I don't think quite good enough to find a home right now. We'll see down the road.
But I mean, we'll see this weekend. I think this weekend's going to be the big test, right? Because Arlington gets to play with all of these cards. So I'm looking forward to seeing if anything kind of comes out of left field that we're not expecting that makes use of these new cards in some weird and wonderful ways. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But I think if there's anything to be found, then the Grandmasters in Arlington are going to find it. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, I do too.
Earthen Might, not Elemental Might. Earthen Might. Thank you.
Finally, thank you.
Thank you, chat room.
Had to look it up. Apparently, we weren't the only ones who forgot what the hell it was called.